Tonight, while the world hunts pastel eggs under the forgiving glow of sunrise, we're cracking open what really lurks beneath Easter's sugar-coated shell. 3 first-hand accounts, each soaked in blood, betrayal, and something far older than the resurrection, wait beyond this click. Hit play, but be warned. By the time the bells ring, you might pray those eggs stay buried forever. I never feared the dark nave of St. Aurelia's until the Easter Vigil 3 years ago. The parish looked harmless enough in daylight, aged oak pews polished by generations of faithful backsides, a crucifix that glowed a comforting honey gold whenever the sun set behind its stained glass halo. But on Holy Saturday, when we gathered at 11:30 p.m. to keep watch for the resurrection, something else kept watch for us. Father Matteo chose me, the youngest sacristan, to carry the 13th candle in the procession. Tradition called for 12, but the extra taper was for the forgotten, he joked. I smiled, eager to please, and followed the older altar servers, stepping into the pitch-black sanctuary where only the Paschal flame flickered. A hush swallowed every footstep, every cough. Somehow even the steady drip that always leaked from the roof was silent. When Father intoned Lumen Christi, I raised my candle to touch the Paschal light. The moment its wick hissed alive, the nave didn't brighten, it deepened, as if walls retreated to reveal a vastness behind them. My breath steamed in the suddenly frigid air. I blinked, blaming nerves, until I noticed Father Matteo blanch. His lips moved, but the words of the exultet never reached my ears. Behind him, in the sanctuary's gloom, silhouettes stirred. At first I thought they were statues in niches I'd somehow missed. Then one stepped forward, barefoot on cold marble, and the waxy scent of my candle warped into the stench of open graves. Her habit was centuries old, her face a rotten parchment mask over bone. She bowed to the cross and kept advancing. Another form followed, an altar boy no older than me, throat slashed ear to ear, candle stub still clutched in stiff fingers. A third, a hunched friar, ribs grinning through cassock tatters. My heart hammered. When I tried to shrink back, my shoes stuck fast to the floor, as though hardened wax had welded them down. All 13 of us candlebearers watched in terror, while 13 shadows, those forgotten, filed between us, each pairing with one of us like a macabre mirror. The nun's lifeless eyes locked onto mine. She exhaled, and my flame flared green. Father Matteo finally found his voice, but it choked into a scream. He made the sign of the cross. The figures mocked him, tracing the same gesture with ruined hands. When he splashed holy water, the droplets sizzled mid-air and vaporized. Someone behind me sobbed, then shrieked as his paired ghost dragged a finger down his cheek, skin splitting open in its wake. Blood spattered onto polished oak, and the pews drank greedily, turning dark as wet soil. "Leave," Father howled. "All of you, run!" But the church doors swung inward, not outward, revealing a corridor of night that smelled of candle smoke and carrion. No stars waited outside, only a wind that sounded like teeth grinding. The nun grasped my candle, guiding it toward my face. The wax dripped red hot onto my knuckles, yet I couldn't drop it. She leaned close, her jaw unhinged wider than any human's. From the pit of her rib cage came a wet purr. Burn. My taper erupted, bathing my vision in emerald fire. I felt skin blister, hair curl. Yet the agony wasn't mine. It belonged to her, echoing through me like a choir of suffering. I saw flickers of plague, of witch trials, of children buried in secret crypts. Every sin the parish had tried to bury, resurrected for its twisted Easter. In desperation, I recited the only Latin that surfaced, Vede retro satana. The flames sputtered. The nun shrieked, a hurricane of dust and bone fragments whipping through the nave. For a heartbeat, the tether between living and dead slackened. I wrenched free, sprinting toward the tabernacle. If Christ had broken death, perhaps the host could break this. I seized the ciborium, scattering consecrated hosts across the floor. The ghouls recoiled from the glowing wafers, as though from burning coals. When one host landed on my nun's forehead, she erupted in silent, dazzling light, dissolving into sparks that singed the air and left a stink of charred parchment. I crawled toward Father Matteo. 3 ghosts had pinned him, nails burrowing into his shoulders. Summoning strength I didn't know I had, I thrust the silver ciborium into their midst. The vessel rang like a bell, and the dead burst apart, fanning a cyclone of ashes that rose to the rafters before vanishing into cracks of reality. Silence returned, complete, suffocating. Candles flickered normally. My fellow servers lay unconscious, some bleeding, others merely shaken. Only 12 remained breathing. The 13th, a girl named Rosa, was gone, her candle a smouldering puddle near the altar. We buried Father Matteo the following Friday. Shock had stopped his heart hours after the Mass. The diocese closed St. Aurelia's, citing structural hazards. But I keep my 13th candle stump hidden. Its wick is still green. Every Holy Saturday at precisely 11:30 p.m., it relights itself, and the room smells of graves. I have never dared let it burn all the way down, for I know what waits in the last inch of wax, a doorway, and Rosa's hand outstretched, begging me to follow. It was supposed to be our town's revival, an Easter egg hunt to lure tourists back after 2 bleak pandemic years. I volunteered to live stream it for the community Facebook page, eager to show Woodsboro wasn't dying. We hid 10,000 plastic eggs across Maple Park. The mayor boasted about golden prize eggs stuffed with vouchers and jewelry. No one mentioned the dozen real eggs added by Mrs. Dunleavy, the eccentric beekeeper who lived beside the cemetery. I first noticed something wrong when I picked up her carton. The shells were perfect robin's egg blue, naturally dyed, she claimed. But when I shook one, it sloshed. "They're filled with honey," she winked. "Sweetness for the children." I should have reported her, yet her crooked smile paralyzed me. I set the carton on the prize table and forgot it, until the hunt began. Hundreds of kids swarmed the meadow like pastel locusts. Parents cheered. My phone streamed smoothly. Then a girl named Lucy screamed. Not the delighted squeal of discovery, an animal shriek. Blood sprayed across her yellow dress. She'd cracked a blue egg against her basket, and a crimson torrent gushed down her arms. At first I thought some sick teen filled it with paint, but the metallic reek told me otherwise, real blood still warm. Confusion froze the crowd. Then other children began crying, blue eggs pulsing in their hands. One boy dropped his. It burst open, disgorging what looked like raw liver rife with writhing maggots. Panic ignited. Parents rushed in, trampling grass, dropping phones. The live stream chat exploded with, "Is this a prank? And call 911?" I scanned for Mrs. Dunleavy. She stood by the cemetery gates, veil lifted, eyes shining like a cat-eye marble. She held the last blue egg, caressing it as though it were alive. When our eyes met, she bit through the shell. Blood dribbled down her chin. "Queen returns," she crooned. The air vibrated, low and insectile. From the cracked shells rose a hum of wings. Hundreds of fat carpenter bees crawled out, bodies coated in blood-slick membranes. They shouldn't have fit inside those tiny eggs, but they poured forth, swelling mid-air, each as long as a finger. Their buzzing deepened into a note that made my vision ripple. Children fled, yet the bees ignored them, spiraling toward the cemetery. I followed, filming, compelled. Bees swarmed a weathered mausoleum, crawling over its lamb-carved door. Stone liquefied under their mandibles, widening a fissure that breathed rot. From that gap seeped a smell older than mammals, musk and sulphur, ovum and decay. Mrs. Dunleavy knelt, arms raised. "Fertility must feed on death," she chanted. The bees thickened, merging into a quilt of moving black that cloaked her. When they dispersed, she had changed. Abdomen distended, legs fused, skin shining chitin bright. She was becoming their queen. My instinct screamed to run, but the hive mind snared me. Live stream viewers begged me to flee, yet their helpless emojis reminded me any evidence could be erased if I didn't keep recording. So I stepped closer. The mausoleum cracked open. Inside, nestled among splintered coffins, was an egg taller than I was, its shell translucent, pulsing with veins. Each throb drummed in my skull, sinking my heartbeat. A shape floated within, a fetus with elongated limbs and mandibles of bone, the unborn god of bees. Mrs. Dunleavy, no, the Queen, slashed her wrist on a coffin nail and drizzled blood over the colossal egg. "Easter of flesh," she lilted. The shell drank the offering and sprouted fishes. A shriek tore free from inside, half infant wail, half feedback screech. The bees engulfed me. Stingers lanced cheeks, scalp, eyelids. Venom burned, but worse was the flood of images they injected. Tidal fields of flowers watered with human hearts, great chitin palaces built on skull foundations. I saw newborn hybrids crawling from egg corpses on every continent. Humanity replaced by a harmony of hives. With the last shred of my mind, I rammed my phone's flashlight into the Queen's compound eyes. She screeched, clawing at her face. The bees briefly scattered. I seized a fallen child's metal bat and swung at the colossal egg. The shell cracked. A gout of amniotic gore sprayed, sizzling like acid on the marble floor. The fetus shrilled and convulsed. Before the Queen could stop me, I smashed again and again until bones crunched under iron. The hive shriek became dissonant. Bees dropped mid-flight, wings melting. The Queen clutched her belly, yellow ichor gushing. She tried to speak, but only worker drones spilled from her mouth, skittering away before collapsing. Sirens wailed outside the cemetery. Emboldened, I swung the bat one final time, shattering the egg in a geyser of blood and embryonic tissue. The Queen toppled, exoskeleton cracking like pottery. As she died, the humming ceased, replaced by church bells in the distance, Easter morning, ringing hollow across the desecrated park. I staggered out, body riddled with stingers. Hospital staff removed 97, and still I feel phantom buzzing under my skin. People call me a hero online. The video went viral before authorities could scrub it. Yet each night I wake to a faint scratching in my closet. On Maundy Thursday last week, I found a blue eggshell there, perfect, robin's egg blue, split open from the inside. Something tiny and winged had crawled out, and on my windowsill lay a trail of honey-slick footprints leading toward town. Easter is coming again, and hives never forget. My family's farm hosts the biggest sunrise service in the county. So when Grandpa died last winter, it fell on me to keep the tradition alive. I thought the hardest part would be setting out 500 folding chairs before dawn. I hadn't met the Hare King yet. Grandpa used to warn us, never break the circle of painted stones behind the barn. They marked an old boundary, he said, older than the church, older than Easter itself. Of course I dismissed it as a folk tale. Until Good Friday, when a rainstorm scattered half the stones across the muddy pasture. I was too busy renting sound equipment to put them back. Sometime after midnight on Holy Saturday, I woke to drums outside. Not music, hoofbeats. I peered through the upstairs window. The pasture shimmered silver beneath the full Pascal moon. At its center stood a figure dressed in rabbit pelts, sewn into a cloak, crowned with antlered ears, taller than a man. His face was hidden by a leporine skull, its eye sockets burned amber. Around him circled a dozen children in white nightgowns, stepping in precise, jerking motions like marionettes pulled by invisible strings. In each child's hand glowed an Easter egg, every shell etched with blood-red runes. I recognized my little sister, Ellie, among them, adrenaline shredded sleep. I bolted downstairs, grabbed Grandpa's shotgun, and burst onto the porch. The figure's antlers swiveled toward me, yet the children never broke step. Hoofbeats grew louder, though no horse was in sight. "Ellie!" I roared, striding across wet grass. She didn't blink. The Hare King extended a clawed hand. 4 fingers tipped with curved talons beckoned me. The air tasted of iron, as if moonlight itself bled. With each step, my boots sank deeper than mud should allow, as though the earth softened to welcome new graves. The Hare King spoke, no, bellowed, in a voice that flayed nerves. Circle broken, tithe owed. His words struck like hammer blows inside my skull. I raised the shotgun. He laughed. The sound was hares screaming when caught in snares. My trigger finger spasmed, but the barrel rusted before my eyes, metal corroding to flakes. In seconds, the weapon crumbled to sludge between my palms. "Take me instead," I pleaded. "Let her go." The Hare King's skull tilted. One for seed, one for soil. With a flick of his hand, he split open the ground beneath Ellie. Soil folded like fabric, swallowing her ankles. She remained expressionless as the earth crept to her knees. I lunged, only to slam into an invisible wall. Raw lightning crackled across it, scorching my arms. The Hare King approached, tilting my chin up with a talon. Behind the bone mask, I glimpsed a face half man, half hare. Patches of fur over raw sinew, eyes spiraling like galaxies. He pressed an egg into my mouth. The shell writhed, wetter than raw meat. I gagged on warm yolk that wasn't yolk at all, but wriggling tails. Mice, maybe, birthing alive down my throat. Vision blurred. A dream memory flooded me. Ancient tribes painting eggs with sacrificial blood, burying them under spring fields to ensure crops. Priests of Eostre donning hare skins, hunting children for fertile tithe. Grandpa had known. He'd tried to hold the boundary, for what breaks can be mended by death. I felt my body step back willingly, now puppet to primordial right. The moon slid behind clouds. Darkness swallowed pasture save for that circle. Ellie's nightgown now smeared brown. Earth had swallowed her to the waist. Only when her lips parted did life return. She screamed my name over and over before soil climbed to her throat and cut the sound short. Rage, pure, blinding, severed the puppet strings. I hacked, vomiting snakes of yolk spawn. Stumbling, I yanked a fallen stone from muck, one of Grandpa's boundary markers, painted with faded woad spirals. My arms burned as I hurled it at the Hare King. Stone struck antler with a crack like splitting timber. The mask fissured. From beneath oozed black sap that hissed where it hit grass. The Hare King reeled. Children stuttered, waking from trance. The invisible wall flickered. I dove through sparks, seizing Ellie's arms. She was sinking fast, soil clamped her ribs. I dug with bare hands, nails tearing, but the ground solidified like cured cement. The Hare King's laughter returned, now ragged. He spoke a final word, tithe. The pasture erupted with clawed paws, shredding from underneath. Scores of white rabbits burst forth, eyes glowing orange, teeth serrated like carnivores. They swarmed me, fangs ripping flesh, but I shielded Ellie's face. Her mouth moved. Stone. Circle. Realization struck. Restore the boundary. Sever the claim. With rabbits gouging my back, I scrambled for scattered stones, slamming each into mud to recreate the ring. Each stone thudded like a heartbeat. When the 11th landed, rabbits screeched, recoiling. The 12th flared blue, and when I plunged the 13th, Grandpa's favorite marked with a lamb glyph, into place, the world inverted. The Hare King shrieked, antlers shattering into dust. Light erupted from the stones, blazing lines across pasture to form a cage of dawn-bleached fire. Rabbits ignited, tiny meteors streaking into night. The soil disgorged Ellie, coughing loam. We collapsed, holding each other as grass hissed and cooled. Sunrise service began an hour later. Churchgoers found 2 blood-spattered, hysterical siblings beside a scorched ring of earth. They blamed lightning, praised God for sparing us. No one believed our story, though farmers later reported finding stillborn lambs across every property but ours. Ellie barely speaks now. Sometimes she taps stones together, rhythm like hoofbeats. As for me, each Easter Eve I patrol that circle. If a single stone shifts, the air thickens with the smell of rust. And out beyond the tree line, I see twin amber lights blinking. Patient, ancient, waiting for the boundary to break again.